Hi everyone, welcome back to the visual arts community for teachers just like you, elementary art teachers. I'm Sarah Rising, the moderator for this group, and in this episode we'll continue with our talks about subplans, and I'm going to share with you a second demonstration on a super fun lesson that you can use in your classroom. This one is part 2 of the demonstration, and it is titled Spheres in Space. And again, going to remind us of our mantra. Remember, expect nothing and be prepared for everything. So while this, I think, is a super great lesson, make sure you have a second and even possibly a third backup for those early finishers, and just in case the sub doesn't quite work this out in your classroom. Spheres in Space, you're going to want to prep for this one in advance, and I'll talk to you about that in just a minute. But what you're going to do first is teach the kids how to make all the circles that you'll use. Now, I'm presenting it as a way that the kids can make one big piece, or they can make a series of, this one shows a series of 6, but I wouldn't do more than 4. And it really is nice for using up your extra and leftover supplies. And it's also nice because you can prep it before. So if you're doing this, say, with your little ones, you can have your early finish, your older kids, make all of the pieces and parts, and you can put them aside in your sub tub. You can also use this with newspaper and lots of recycled materials. Now, as I mentioned, I'm going to be teaching you how to teach the kids to cut a round circle out of a square piece of paper. And I say round circle because I think you'll find that this method, if you're not doing it already, helps the kids learn to freehand cut a circle. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and do the demonstration for you. You can, as I mentioned before, use it one of 3 ways. You can share it with the class as a pre-presentation, or you can have the substitute teacher present it. You can have the substitute teacher watch the video and then present it from there if they're comfortable. So whatever works for you, and then you can also tweak it and change it up a little bit. I will have for you links to the video and links to the presentation when this is done. All right, here we go. Hi everyone, today we are going to make the Spheres in Space optical illusion for our project. So what you're going to need is a pair of scissors, a glue stick or liquid glue, a series of squares, construction paper squares. I like to have 3-inch squares, 2-inch squares, and 1-inch squares. A black sheet of paper if you're doing version 1 with the cutout black shapes. And if you're not doing the cutout black shapes, a black marker or a black crayon. All right. You can also use, depending on the time that you have, a full sheet of paper or a half sheet of paper. You can also choose to make your project as one big image, or you can divide your paper into 4 sections and make 4 small images. I'm going to show you all those ways today. If you're making your art as one big piece, you're going to take that sheet of black paper and cut out pieces of really long triangles and glue them down. And you want all of the skinniest part of the triangle meeting in the center. Now, you're going to have some pieces that come off the page, and what you'll have to do when that's all done is you'll have to carefully trim off the overflow so that your artwork is neat and tidy. So you're cutting all of those extra pieces off like so. And that's going to be the base for your optical illusion. And that's what you're going to have to start with. That's version 1. Stay tuned for version 2. If you would rather do an image with 4 smaller versions of the same picture. Divide your paper into 4 sections by folding over the 2 corners like a book fold. Give it a crease, open it, and fold it again. Open it back up, and then what you're left with are 4 equal squares. Then I'm going to show you how you're going to make the next pieces. So you've got your long piece of paper, and what I did was I cut it in half. And in order to save some time, I'm simply going to take these pieces and I'm going to start in this corner and I'm going to cut triangles. I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to go to this corner, cut triangles, and then I'm just going to make sure that I'm always starting at the corners and cutting really long triangles. All right, I'm going to finish cutting those and I'll be right back. All right, so I've created my pile of the triangles, and you can see I've got a whole bunch of these little black triangles, but I'm going to be making 4 mini pictures for my project today. So when choosing between the 2 versions, whether you're going with this big guy or you're going to do 4 mini ones, just think about how quick of a worker you are. All right, so in each of these 4 squares, I'm going to create a vanishing point. That's a dot in about the center. And I'm just going to do one of these squares with you, and then through the magic of technology, I'll come back and show you how to finish it. So I'm going to work off my paper, and I'm going to glue down, almost like the spokes on a bike, these black triangles. So, and I ended it there. And I'm going to do that over here. And I'm going to do that over here. And you'll see that we're going to be cutting these off. It gets a little tricky when you're in here. So let me show you how I'm going to do that to make it a little bit easier. I'm going to lay this down, but I'm not going to glue it to the edge. And then I'm going to fold it right there where that crease line is. And then I'm just going to pick that up, cut the edge off, go right back and glue it down. All right, I'm going to continue to make the next 4, and I'll come back and show you what I have. You'll see now that I've got my second one done, it's starting to get a little bit confusing. So before I go on to the other 2 squares, I'm going to trim off, and again, following that crease line. And you may have to go back and glue these guys if they start to lift off your paper. And you also may find that you have to cut in 2 edges. So you can see I've got 2 of my 4 squares done. And again, this is if you've chosen to go with the 4 mini versions. All right, be right back. All right, so here's the finished project. So you've got the 4 small versions, mini versions on one, and then you also have the large version on one. Next, we're going to talk about cutting circles. As I mentioned, you want to have a variety of circles for this project, but you're going to have to start with a square first. So you want to prepare 3 different sizes. I here did a 3-inch square, a 2-inch square, and a 1-inch square. So your teacher has prepared these in advance for you. The next thing we're going to do is cut these squares into circles. The first one that you're going to do, you're going to want to practice. And if you look at a circle, we can see that it is shaped like that. So we're going to draw, we're going to act like we're drawing corners of curve. So I'm going to start with a curve like that. Then I'm going to go to the other corner and I'm going to draw a curve. Once you get really good at this, you won't have to draw the curves anymore. You should be able to cut it just straight up. So you can kind of see the start of a circle there, and I've cut those this way. Remember, don't turn your circles and cut them and make your curves that way. You'll see right away that that isn't a circle at all. It needs to be like this. And then when you cut the circle, I like to hold the scissors in my hand and simply open the blades and then turn the paper as I'm closing the blades. So watch. Blades are closing. I'm turning the paper. And then it snips that corner right off. And I'm going to go to the second corner. Open the blades, turn the paper, close the scissors, making sure your fingers aren't getting in the way. Going to the third corner, closing the paper, and then the fourth corner. Now, when you first start off doing this, your circles might not be as perfect, but I promise, once you get going, you should be able to do this like this. Curve, cut the second corner, curve, the third corner is a curve, and the fourth corner is a curve. And you know what? It's okay if they're not exact, perfect geometric circles. You'll get there. And again, if you feel better, if it helps you to do this first, then by all means, add your curves. But boys and girls, don't draw the whole circle. You're just drawing the corner. All right? I'll come back after I cut some more corners. Oh, one more thing before I forget. What also you might want to do, your teacher may have prepared for you just plain white copy paper squares that you can practice with. So if you feel like you need more practice before you cut the good paper, maybe you can practice on some plain white copy paper to make sure you've got it right. Okay, be right back. All right, now that you've got your circles cut out, get yourself organized and arrange them by largest. Got your largest circles, your medium circles, and your small, tiny circles. So talking about the larger piece of paper, remember we are showing these circles in space. And if you recall our lessons on space, things get smaller as they get farther away from us. So in the middle is the implication that things are far away. So the things in the middle are going to be smaller. You can see how the lines get smaller. So what you're going to do is on your large piece, if that's what you're doing, arrange your larger pieces. And it's okay if they come off the page. As a matter of fact, it creates some interest. Now you might not want to cover up all of those black lines, but you'll get these glued down and then start with some medium pieces. That will be out here. And then some smaller pieces that go towards the middle. And your tiniest pieces of all are in the center. And you can even take the circles if you find that you need them smaller, cut those down to an even smaller size to create that illusion of depth. And that's your large piece. Now, if you're doing the small ones, you probably aren't going to use these really, really big pieces. So in that case, you're going to be using all small squares. If you use the big ones, you can have one look like it's coming off the page, maybe a little bit like that, but you won't show the whole piece. So what I might do is cut that piece in half and then have it going off the page like that. Cutting that one. And make it look like it's going off the page like that. Oh, and we'll do one more over here and get that one stuck on. So you can see, let me scoop my camera back up there for you. There's the start of my mini pieces. And then carry on and do the same thing with your small ones. And then these will appear like that. Make sure you've included a variety of colors to create interest. And then at that point is when you'll add your little itty bitty pieces. In there like that. You get those glued down. And voila, you have your mini masterpieces. Spheres in space. I hope you enjoyed this project, and I can't wait to see what you've done with it. See you. Well, I hope you enjoyed that presentation. I hope it helps you out one day when you get into a bind. And then I just want to close with one more reminder. And again, this was from the first webinar. But, and again, this is something that has helped me immensely. So remember, create a clear structure for sub days. This is going to help you from feeling like you need to leave insanely detailed instructions for every moment of the day. Teach it to your kids from day one. Let them know that there are times throughout the year that you may be out. You may or may not know what those days are, but let them know so that they know what to expect. And then do yourself a favor and allow for different routines in your absence, and then free your sub to be more effective and authentic in their teaching. That'll also free up you from having to write down every single little thing, which is what I'm not going to be doing next year. All right, guys, it was good to see you. I hope you enjoyed this. I'll see you soon. Bye.